This is John Benham coming to you from the DubLi Network headquarters at Jumeirah Lake Towers here in Dubai. Very excited to be able today to give you a quick presentation that I had given at the DubLi Dream Days. And I just think it'll have a big effect on you. This was really fun giving this presentation. I love the feedback that I received, and I think you guys really enjoy it as well. And it really is about mastering the art of leadership. Leadership to me is just everything. It really is. You show me a great company, and I'll show you a great leader that's leading it. And I think in the world today, both in countries and companies, we're missing leadership. Most people have turned into managers. I've always been told, and I believe it to be true, managers manage people, and leaders actually, managers manage things. Leaders lead people, and you want to be a leader. That's what we need with DubLi. So what is a leader? Let's talk about it real quick. First off, a leader is someone who inspires others to become their best self by doing the things most people typically won't do. And boy, that's powerful. To become our best selves, to really succeed in business, you have to go out there and do some things that most people just aren't willing to do. And that's how you become your better self. It's how you have a lot of success. And a leader is someone that can inspire that. When you first hear that, it sounds a little bit daunting. Like, wow, that's I don't know if I could do that or not. Well, first of all, you got to know, great leaders aren't born. They're developed. They're actually built. And I believe that everybody can become a great leader because it doesn't require talent, but it really takes desire and abilities that can be learned. And I think that's so true with leadership. You can become a leader no matter where what your background is, no matter what you've done in the past. You can go out there and become a great leader and really have an effect on a lot of people's lives. See, leadership is an art, but it's an art that you can learn, develop, and you can master. It's important to know that every great leader in history is really just a human being, just like yourself. We're all the same. Matter of fact, they get scared, they get frustrated, they get hurt and worried just like everybody else. The difference is they go out and make things happen anyway. They don't look for excuses. They just find a way to get things done in spite of any obstacles that appear to be in the way. They kind of have a no excuses mentality. I shared on the stage in Dubai that at West Point, the famous military academy in the United States, a plebe, which is a first-year soldier, only has 3 responses he can give to a direct question from a superior officer, and it's yes, sir, no, sir, and no excuse, sir. And it could be totally out of his control, but no excuse is his answer. And you got to have a no excuses mentality. One of my favorite stories, and it's kind of humorous, is this story about fried chicken. And I'm going to share it real quick with you here on the training. There was a man one day who needed to mow his lawn. And he went his lawnmower was broken. So he went next door to borrow his neighbor's lawnmower. He knocked on the door. He asked the neighbor, "Can I please borrow your lawnmower? Mine's broken." The neighbor said to him, "Well, I wish I could, but I'm frying chicken today." The guy's like, "Oh, okay." And he went away and went back home. And then it just really started bothering him. He's like, "Wait a minute, I don't understand. Why is it? What does frying chicken have to do with me borrowing his lawnmower? I don't get it. I don't get it." It started bugging him. So eventually he walked back over to his neighbor's house, knocked on the door, and said, "Listen, I'd hate to bother you again, but what does frying chicken have to do with borrowing your lawnmower?" And the neighbor said, "Well, nothing. But when you need an excuse, anyone will do." And I think when people make excuses, it becomes like a habit in their life. I used to have a field team. I just tell people, look, if you're not going to make it to the meeting tonight, don't go try to be creative, make up some excuses why you can't come. Just tell me you're frying chicken tonight. That way I know, saves you trouble. I know you're just getting distracted, and you're admitting to yourself you're distracted. I'm sure as a collective group we could write a book called A1,000,001 Excuses. I even had someone tell me they weren't going to come to a meeting one night because their bird had a cold. I promise it happened. So just eliminate excuses from your life. No more frying chicken in your life. Bottom line, you can make money or you can make excuses, but you can't make both. You got to make that decision. Are you going to make money or are you going to make excuses? See, our boss is really success, and success tolerates no excuses. The only way to have success is to have a no excuse mentality and get it done in spite of all the obstacles that are getting in your way. Important to know that great leaders don't let obstacles affect their attitudes. The obstacles are a part of success. They're going to happen all the time. But you can't let them affect your attitude. See, anyone can stay positive during the good times. Leaders stay positive at all times, especially when they don't feel like being positive. Reminds me of a story of two friends. One friend, man, he was happy all the time, always had a great attitude. Nothing could get him off track. His friend, though, was exactly the opposite. He got upset over everything, no matter what you gave him. He wasn't happy. He just had a bad attitude. You know people in your life that are like this. People that are happy all the time, ones that are sad. Well, some scientists decided, let's look and see what the difference is between these two friends. There has to be something there. Maybe it's their environment. And they decided to do an experiment regarding environment. They said, let's take the boy with the bad attitude, the one who's never happy, and let's put him in a room that's kind of a child's dream room. Toys, candy, snacks, TV, video games. And let's put him in there for a few minutes. Then let's see if his attitude changes. Let's take the second friend, though, and let's put him into a room that's full of horse manure, just horse poop. And we're going to lock him in there, and we're going to come back in a few minutes and see what happens. They lock both the boys in the two rooms. They wait a few minutes. They come back in. The boy with the bad attitude has broken all the toys, made a mess in the room, and he's very upset. He's over there growling, grrr. Well, they said, wow, that's terrible. But I bet the boy in the other room is even more upset than him. He's been locked in a room full of horse manure now for several minutes. They open the door, and what do they see? The boy's having a blast. He's going crazy. He's happy. He's throwing horse manure up in the air. It's in his hair. It's in his clothes. He's throwing it all around. He's excited. And they go, boy, what is wrong with you? Why are you so excited? And the boy says, with all this manure, there must be a pony in here somewhere. And I love that because it shows, here's a kid who was thrown into a bad situation and he looked for the positive. He looked for, there must be a pony in this room somewhere, he says. He's looking for the best in every situation. And that's the way we got to be. To become a great leader, you got to do the exact same thing. You got to stay positive and passionate, especially during the tough times. You got to remember that things are never as good as they look or as bad as they seem. Don't let yourself get too high or get too low. Don't ride that emotional roller coaster a lot of people ride in their lives now. And don't ever let your personal problems and crises cause problems to your people because you are down and distracted. Now, obviously, like anything, there'll be some negative situations come along. And when they do, you just take them with the most positive attitude possible. And you never share those negatives with people in your downline or people in sideline, only with your upline. If something's going wrong in the business, you're having a hard time, go to your upline and do it in a very positive way. Tell them how you're feeling and look for solutions. But don't spread negatives around. It's a leadership killer disease that you don't want to get involved in. The important thing is great leaders don't let obstacles affect their thoughts. Leaders know what they think about, they bring about. They must control their thoughts, especially in the face of adversity. If you think positive thoughts, you get positive results. If you think negative thoughts, you get negative results. It's pretty simple. Your mind is like a magnet. And whatever thoughts you have attract that like thought, good or bad. If you have negative thoughts like I can't do it, I have no money, my relationships are not good, things will never change, then that's exactly what will happen. If you have positive thoughts like I can do it, I have lots of money, my relationships are amazing, nothing is out of my reach, that's exactly what you'll attract. So be careful. What you think about, you absolutely bring about. And you gotta be careful who you let to control your thoughts. A lot of us, if we went out tomorrow in our front yard and we saw a bunch of garbage thrown in our yard, we'd be very, very upset. We would just be absolutely angered. Yet how many times during the day do we let people put mental garbage into our heads? By letting them say negative things around us, by the things we watch on television, by the news we listen to on TV or on the radio. We've got to seal our mind away from all these negatives to not let those negative thoughts into our mind. Because again, negative thoughts, negative results. Positive thoughts, positive results. A great example to me is the story of the frogs in the tower. There's a bunch of frogs that decided they're going to go out there and they're going to climb this tower. And they started to climb, and as soon as they did, some of their friends started saying, it's too high, you'll never make it, are you crazy? And some of the frogs go, wow, maybe we are, and they started climbing back down. But a few frogs kept going on. Not too many, just a few. Then their friends really started ramping up the volume. They said, look, frogs can't climb. You're going to die. And more frogs got discouraged. And eventually, only one frog made it to the top. And do you know why he made it? What made him succeed? He was deaf. He couldn't hear the negative words and negative thoughts being placed in his brain. Because he couldn't hear them, he didn't realize it wasn't possible, and on he went to the top of the tower. So you got to seal your mind against all those discouraging influences, because I believe, and every book you'll ever read about leadership is that people are the creators of their own misfortunes because of the negative thoughts they allow to permeate their subconscious mind. And conversely, people are also the creators of their own fortunes because of the positive thoughts they allow to permeate their subconscious mind. So you must seal your mind against all negative and discouraging influences. And at the same time, you must fill your mind with positive and encouraging influences. That's the key to controlling your mindset. The next thing, great leaders are just people. They don't let obstacles affect their vision. They stay true to their long-term vision no matter what the circumstances. They know that the road to success has bumps and detours. And they know that's just part of the journey, and that'll make the reward even sweeter once they achieve success. I've all heard the phrase, keep your eye on the ball, and that is so true when it comes to vision. You look at sports, all the great athletes watch the ball. They say one of the toughest things in sports is for a person to hit a baseball. As you're teaching children to hit the ball, the most important thing is they watch that ball all the way to the bat, because the tendency as the ball to get in closer is for you to look up to where you want the ball to go, and you take your eye off the ball and you lose your vision. A great example of vision to me was Henry Ford. Back in the 20s, Henry Ford wanted a more powerful motor for his cars, and he had a vision of having an 8-cylinder V8 motor. There was some straight 8s at the time, but nobody had the V8 for the increased horsepower. And he went to his engineers and he told them, I want a V8 motor, and they said it's impossible. He said, I don't care, I want it anyway. They went for months and started trying to work on it. Everything they did failed. They came back and said, look, we've tried, it's not possible. And he says, no, you don't understand. I want it, and we're going to have it. And they go back, and this process went on for 2 or 3 years. They kept telling it was impossible. Finally, one day, they figured it out. And so Henry Ford, despite the obstacles, kept his vision of having a V8 motor. And because he did, Ford had a V8 in their cars in 1932, where their rival, Chevrolet, didn't have a V8 in their automobiles until 1955, 33 years later. Kind of reminds you of Michael sometime. Michael Hansen, our CEO and founder, has a vision, of what DubLi.com will do for consumers. And along the way, I'm sure he's told many people and programmers what he wants to do, and they said, well, it's impossible. Nobody can do a global mall on this scale and do all these auctions. And Michael was unrelenting. He's like, look, that's what I want. And he keeps pushing and pushing and pushing. And look where we are today. The product is so amazing and getting more amazing every day with 2.0 and all the great features that are coming out. So Michael didn't lose his vision. Henry Ford didn't lose his vision. You don't need to lose your vision either. Make sure you do that. A little thing about vision I want to throw out too is you won't grow bigger than your vision is stretched. And you can't stretch your own vision. So how do you stretch your vision so you can grow to that size? Well, you have to expose yourself and your leaders to the places, people, and events that stretch your vision for you. And that's the big events. We try to do 2 company events a year. You have to do whatever it takes to get there, because there's an old quote, I think it's Pythagoras said, the mind is not a vessel to be filled, but a fire to be ignited. And while yes, we train at the meetings, and yes, we do other things as well, get good information out, our main reason for holding that event is to ignite the minds, to stretch the vision. I can't tell you how many leaders over the last 27 years I've been in this business have told me there was something said or felt at a big event that just triggered them inside. It lit that fire. It made them realize, man, I can go out and build a huge team. I can go out and make $1 million. And what if for some reason they allowed excuses to get in the way and they weren't at that event when that one little thing that's supposed to change their life took place? Or maybe they're at the event and they're out in the hallway goofing off with their friends. You've got to make a commitment to be at every single big event and get as many of your leaders there as possible. That is the key to success. We truly build our business from big event to big event. Don't miss that key component. The next point is great leaders don't let obstacles affect their actions. When things go bad, great leaders charge forward. They keep going when they're down. They have a heart of a champion that rises to the challenge at all times and in all conditions. I'll play a little game with you guys real quick. Call it Guess Who. I'm going to tell you a little about somebody, and they're going to guess who it is. The first person did not speak until he was 4 and did not read until he was 7, causing his teachers and parents to think he was mentally handicapped, and he was expelled from school. Who other than Albert Einstein? Now imagine if he'd have let being expelled from school stop him from pursuing his academia. The whole world today would be a different place. Another Guess Who. Penniless, severely depressed, divorced, trying to raise a child on her own while attending school and on welfare to survive. Today a billionaire, J.K. Rowling, author of the Harry Potter books. Again, great struggles, but created great results. Fired by a newspaper editor because he lacked imagination and had no good ideas. Started a number of businesses that didn't last too long and all ended up with bankruptcy and failure. I love the lacked imagination part because look who it is. Walt Disney. Who has a better imagination than Walt Disney did? Cut from his high school basketball team, and his career missed more than 9,000 shots and lost more than 300 games. Most kids, if they got cut from high school, would never pursue basketball ever again. Good thing Michael Jordan didn't. Became one of the greatest basketball players of all time. Demoted from a job as a news anchor because she wasn't fit for television. Oprah Winfrey, obviously the most successful television person ever in my opinion, just done some fantastic stuff, helped change a lot of lives. Dropped out of Harvard, started a business called Trafo-Data that failed miserably. I'll give you a hint on this one. Here's his mugshot when he got arrested. Who are we talking about? Of course, Bill Gates, the richest man in the United States, second richest man in the world, but obviously had failures before. The key is to know that most great leaders have failed before they succeeded. Matter of fact, failing is one of the steps to success. There's a principle called the seed of equivalent benefit, and it says that every adversity, every failure, and every heartache carries with it a seed of equivalent or greater benefit. It works something like this. Here you are rocking along in your life. The blue curve's the success curve, the purple curve's the mediocrity curve, and you have what I call a career tipping point. Something happens. You lose your job, your company goes out of business, you have health challenges, whatever it might be. You have two options. Most people kind of, woe is me, and they kind of barely get through it, and their life just keeps going on. But leaders understand that there's a seed of equivalent or greater benefit in that heartfall, and they press forward with their actions and their thoughts and their attitude, and great things happen in their life, and they receive that seed of equivalent benefit. But if you give up, you have no chance of receiving it. So make sure you understand during tough times, that's when you got to push the hardest. Great leaders have big vision. They dream big dreams for themselves, their team, and their customers. They live by the mantra, what you think about, you bring about. They decide what is logical, then they think beyond it. And I love that quote. Think what's kind of logical in your life and your team, and then go on beyond it in your thinking. Might as well. If you're going to think big, if you're going to be thinking, you might as well be thinking big, as Donald Trump once said. They're goal-oriented. They have a business plan. They read it every day to help them reach their goals. They have a good business plan that helps them develop a clear, concise mental picture of what they want their DubLi network business to look like, both short-term and long-term. Be a goal setter. We'll have more sessions about goal setting here in subsequent events, but man, be a goal setter and a goal hitter. It'll change your life. Always be a student of leadership. All great leaders were and always have been great followers. They learn and copy from the successful attributes of other successful leaders through their associations through books, audios, and videos. They constantly learn and look for opportunities to learn new leadership skills and principles. Look at everything you do. I mean, I'll go to a movie sometimes and be taking notes. There's a cartoon that came out years ago, an animated movie for children called The Tales of Despero. It's about a little mouse, and if you ever watch it, some of the best success principles ever are taught right there in that movie. A great book, The Little Engine That Could. You know what a great book that is for children, but if you read some of the principles in there, there's success principles buried throughout that book that are just fantastic. Leaders are always on a self-improvement journey. They understand it's continuous. They got to constantly strive to become a better you. Dedicate yourself to personal and professional development, and always try to learn from your mistakes. Mistakes aren't bad if you learn from them. Matter of fact, you think of Thomas Edison inventing the light bulb. I think he failed 10,000 times. But in his opinion, he didn't fail 10,000 times. He just found 10,000 things that didn't work until he found the one that did. So learn from your mistakes. Always be coachable and teachable. Be a student of system and success. The day you think you know it all is the day you're in trouble. It's what you learn after you think you know it all that really matters. Follow our DubLi business system. It gives you the expertise to go out there and build or run a successful team. Always be a servant leader. You know, great leaders strive to be servant leaders to their people who can be trusted and respected, so people will be inspired to follow them. Don't try to be a king, dear people. Be a king maker. Try to build them up so they can go out there and become successful leaders of their own. And remember, leadership is not a birthright or something you can get just by having a title or position. You can't just demand respect, loyalty, and trust and love. You got to earn it every day. You can't fake integrity, honesty, or belief. It must be sincere. You earn your respect as a servant leader by doing what is best for your people and by being a do-it-first leader. Those two things are huge and paramount to becoming a great leader. And always be selfless. It's not my team or I did it. It's our team and we did it. Have a do-it-first leadership mentality. Become a master copying worth duplicating to your people. Your leaders are always watching you and they're going to duplicate everything they do, good and bad. One of my mentors told me early on that he'd go out there when he first got started in the industry. He'd recruit a few people and then help them try to get their team going and kind of stop, and then they'd kind of die away, and recruit a few more people and they'd kind of die away. It just wasn't ever getting any traction. And he called his upline one day and says, hey, why is this happening? And they say, what, did you duplicate yourself again? So realize people will duplicate what you do. You got to continuously be personally recruiting and never stopping and just being an example of success. Build a team, make and save big money. Results are what gives leadership power. Success replaces all arguments. The message of my presentation, hopefully you got today, is you can become a great leader. And what I want you to do as we close this out is visualize the leader you want to become. Think about how you would act, how you would dress. How would your hair be cut? How would you walk? How would you be sitting in the meeting right now? What would you be doing today if you were already a big leader making $1 million a month and had an organization all around the world with DubLi Network? Get a clear vision of that. Then go ahead and think, look, and act a part every day until it becomes your reality. There's power in that, I promise you. Your subconscious mind will pick up on it. So visualize and think how you'd act and do it right now. IBM became a great company because Thomas Watson early on had a vision of what IBM would look like when it was done. And the second thing is he started deciding what a company like that would look like once it was finished. And he worked every day between making up the disparity between what he wanted to look like and what it did look like. You got to do the exact same thing with you as a leader and with your team. It works wonders, I promise you. The Great Soviet Experiment shows the power of visualization. Back in the Lake Placid Games in 1980, the Soviets did a little thing. They took a certain section of their athletes, and 25% of them trained 100% of the time. Another group trained half the time, visualized half the time. Another group visualized 75% of the time and trained only 25% of the time. And the last group visualized the entire time. And what they visualize is the exact movements they have to make in performing their sport. They'd visualize a good approach, a perfect landing. If it was boxing, it'd be a perfect fight where they ducked and weaved and saw every punch coming. If it was track and field, they visualized themselves running very quickly. They visualized getting the gold medal. What do you think of these four groups? Who had the best results? Believe it or not, it was the group that visualized 75% of the time but only trained 25%, which does show you there has to be work involved. It's not just visualization, but it shows you how visualization plays a big role. Second most effective group was the one that did 50-50. Now the interesting one is who's third. Is it the ones that visualized all the time or the ones that trained all the time? It was the ones that visualized all the time. And of course last came the other ones. A great example of visualization, and you hear this a lot, there was a POW, an American POW in Vietnam that was captured for 5 years. And he was put in a cell and they were given no time to ever get out. And he realized early on the only thing he could control was his mind and his thoughts. Now he had played a little bit of golf before he left, not much. But he actually would sit in his cell and he would actually do an entire round of golf in his mind. It would actually take him 4 hours. He'd see himself getting in his car, driving to the local golf course where he's played a few times, getting out of the car, going in the clubhouse, buying a sandwich, getting drinks, walking to the first tee. And he'd do this all in real time now. Putting the ball down in the grass, he'd visualize the field, the grass, and the warmth of the sun, and putting that ball on the tee, looking down the fairway to where he wanted his drive to go, his swing. He visualized hitting a perfect shot down the middle. So he did this now for 5 years. Every day he'd play golf at his favorite golf course back in his hometown. Now he used to shoot in the hundreds like most golfers. But when he finally got released from prison, here he was obviously not in the best physical shape, hasn't touched golf clubs in 5 years. He went to that course to play a round of golf. And he shot an 83, which is 11 over par, very respectable score. Why? Because visually, he had visualized himself playing that round. It's amazing what visualization can do. So as we close this session out on leadership today, I challenge you to visualize specifically. Go ahead and act as if. How would you act if you were already there? Commit 100% to winning. Lead by example. Dream bigger dreams. Set bigger goals and go make them happen. Anybody can become a leader. And I challenge you to make a decision today that you're going to be a leader. You're going to be a leader that'll help people go out there and change lives. You're going to go out there and you're going to be part of a movement and a company that'll build tremendous wealth for your family. And you are with DubLi and DubLi Network. Now is the time for you to go out there and become a great leader. I challenge you to get it done. Use the principles in this presentation. Watch it over and over again. Visualize, act as if, and go make things happen. Excited about being here with you guys. Have a wonderful day, and thanks for taking the time today to watch this program.